There is a modern remake underway of the classic anime Runma, and I am concerned. Perhaps those concerns are unfounded because this is being made in Japan, a culture that is largely disinterested in appeasing the woke modern audience. And with the 2 episodes released as of the writing of this script, so far it is a very close remake to the original. But there are some small, but I do feel quite significant errors in the adaptation of this reboot. Indeed, with this being a reboot that creates certain opportunities for people with agendas to try and change it. There's already a number of woke ideological activists trying to subvert what the meaning of Runma is to suit their own ideological agenda, proclaiming it as a work that promotes fluid gender identity and transgenderism, which could not be further from the truth. The original Runma was made to be a fun, entertaining, comedic action romance and was not made for any subversive modern political statement. Indeed, the original promotes and enforces many traditional beliefs and standards about gender identity and gender roles. And it's the attempt to subvert and co-opt this story which is what has made me concerned, and is why I'm making this video to explain how doing so betrays many core aspects of what Runma is. First, for all those who don't know, what is Runma? Runma is a comedic action anime romance that was made in 1989, the manga starting in 1987, about a teenage martial arts practitioner who is cursed to turn into a girl when cold water is splashed on him, hot water turning him back into a male, who is betrothed to the daughter of his father's close friend and fellow martial arts practitioner. It's hilarious, action-packed, and in many ways wholesome if not for the regular nudity, so there is a hefty content warning regarding this show. But even with the infrequent nudity that doesn't appear in every episode, it is never presented sexually or in sexual situations. Indeed, it's often a result of Runma not translating his male modesty standards to his female form.
She's so unashamed before the camera.
And the show never approaches anything as gratuitous as the likes of Game of Thrones. People might call Runma a harem anime because there are a decent amount of female characters that end up fighting for his affection. Indeed, you could almost call this the OG harem anime, but because of that, it doesn't really fall into the common, cheap, and even sleazy harem anime tropes that have developed since. Runma is not an average guy or a loser who has girls falling over him for dumb or undeveloped reasons. He's a strong, noble character, cocky and arrogant, sure, but he attracts other women for obvious reasons, and the other women vying for his affection all serve to add conflict and hijinks to the main focus of the story, which is his relationship with Akane, the first girl he is betrothed to, because yes, he ends up getting betrothed to other girls, but it's his relationship with Akane that's the core. And that relationship's progression is handled with care and focus in the story. Of course, there's a lot of comedy, hijinks, side plots, and action along the way, but Runma and Akane's relationship is the heart of the story, and is actually a very well written character study in how offense, immaturity, misunderstandings, ego, and jealousy can get in the way of real affection and wholesome relationships.
Don't you ever get tired of being angry all the time?
I like being angry!
Well, that's too bad.
Why's that?
'Cause you're really cute when you smile.
Huh?
Gotcha.
Did he mean that?
What are you making that goofy face for?
Huh?
I think I'm gonna be sick.
What are you doing in my room?
And more importantly, that these things can be overcome, even crazy things like curses and unhinged people fighting to ruin the relationship, when true affection exists and the two are so well suited to one another. Runma and Akane's relationship begins with them being betrothed against their wishes and both accidentally and comedically but deeply offending each other. It progresses from there with further offenses and conflict, each hurting the other, sometimes in unintentionally cruel and deep ways.
I don't want you hanging around me all the time when we're at school. Do you understand?
Don't worry about that. I can't stand tomboys like you. If you want a girl who's more likely to kill you than kiss you, then you can have her.
What's the big deal, Akane? I think it's cool he can change into a girl.
Cool? That's easy for you to say, Nabiki. My life may as well be over if I have to marry a stupid jerk like him. Why don't you marry him if he's so cool? Think about it. I'm engaged to my worst nightmare.
And the old man calls me rude.
But, carefully placed amidst all this conflict are key moments that are very intentionally and skillfully written that show a deeper affection for one another where each of them sees the good in the other.
Really, she's very sweet-tempered and kind.
I don't know.
Soon you'll understand.
Not yet, I don't.
and that growing love is constantly at odds with their offense, resent, jealousy, and immature natures. It doesn't take long for Runma to realize how special Akane is.
She's something else.
Even if he tries to tell himself otherwise, but in reality, she's a perfect match for him. So, Runma begins to tease Akane, calling her tomboy and uncute because he likes her and wants her attention. A very common and immature thing boys and young men do to girls they actually like, not realizing this type of behavior usually makes the girls dislike them more. The thing is, Akane is insecure about her femininity and wants to be more womanly and attractive to men, not to boys. She is literally growing out her hair in the beginning of the show to be more like Kasumi, her older sister, so she can appear more womanly and win the affections of Dr. Tofu, her schoolgirl crush, but who is in love with Kasumi. This evolves and grows, Akane moving on from Dr. Tofu and secretly wanting Runma to like her, which makes Runma's teasing of her cut all the deeper. Do you see already how authentic, real, and conflicted Runma and Akane's relationship is? A lot of which is not spelled out, but subtly shown and hinted at. It's actually very mature and clever character writing spliced in between very immature hijinks and comedy, and the show manages to strike a balance. It's an art seemingly lost in most modern day shows. Unfortunately, it seems like part of this may be lost in the remake. For instance, in the remake, Akane states that she hates men, where in the original she says that she hates boys.
You're never gonna find a man that will like you if you keep acting like this.
Ask me if I care. How many times do I have to keep telling you that it doesn't matter because I hate men?
It's just that you said yesterday that you hated every man.
I do. Oh boy, I really hate...
You must be joking. Why would I be?
Because you hate boys, don't you?
That's right. I hate boys. Hate boys, hate boys, hate boys. I really, really hate boys.
I'm unaware if the original Japanese script has this difference, but in the subtitles and dub of the original versus the remake, Akane hates boys in the original, whereas in the remake, they say she hates men. The reason why she hates boys is implied because boys are immature and constantly get in her way, vying for affection which she is not interested in. But regarding men, like Dr. Tofu, she likes very much. Akane is not a man-hating character, and this small change in the remake contradicts a very significant aspect of her character, which does make me concerned for the authenticity of this remake, because why was this change done? Now look, it might have just been a mistake, a mistranslation, an oversight, but with the modern trend of hating men and the rise of toxic feminism, I am concerned that this might have been a very subtle but calculated change to push the show towards a more woke depiction. I could be wrong, but these are concerns that I can't avoid because of what is happening in current day society and the push for certain ideologies. I'll be keeping an eye on the remake to see if anything like this continues. Still, this little change in the remake doesn't really subvert yet what the heart of Runma Half is about, which is the development of Runma and Akane's relationship. In the original, it becomes a real wholesome treat seeing those moments of growing affection poke through Runma and Akane's constant fighting and seething resent, because we, the audience, can see that they actually really do care for one another.
Got it?
Wow, she's great.
I wanted to tell you, your hair really does look cute.
And that they both need to grow enough to overcome their immature nature and resent and learn to let the other know how much they actually care. Woven throughout the comical hijinks of this action anime is actually a very cleverly written romance story and character study. This is the heart of Runma Half, and it's far more than a cheap harem anime or some pathetic subversion of gender identity and gender roles. Indeed, far from it. Runma Half actually promotes traditional values and traditional gender identity and uses Runma's curse of turning into a girl to reinforce those traditional standards and beliefs by the contrasts that arise because of this transformation and character interactions.
This is all your fault, old man. What's the idea of dragging me to a place like that anyway, huh?
Runma, you sound like a girl!
Indeed, on top of reinforcing traditional gender roles, it actually promotes traditional gender roles and gender identity, presenting these roles and identities all throughout the show as what is normal and good.
Dutiful wife make husband delicious lunch.
The overall categorical context of Runma's ability to change genders is presented as a perversion of what is normal.
I am so ashamed. I cannot bear to see my son like this. Runma, you're...
Go ahead and make fun of me, Ryoga. I'm just trying to get by. It's not easy having this curse for a body, you know.
You think I like it, old man? You think is fun being a girl? You don't know what it's like. I just want to be normal again.
Runma literally sees himself as a freak of nature for it and wants the curse to be gone, and the show presents this belief, as well as Runma's unshakable male identity, even in the face of being able to turn into a biological female, as what is proper. Runma always identifies as a man, even though cursed to turn into a girl.
Die, Runma! Hey, cut it out, stupid! Girls, let's not fight! I told you I'm a guy!
And that right there is the key. Runma, even with his ability to turn into a girl, never identifies as one. He sometimes pretends to be a girl to fool people or exploit that form for his own benefit, such as being in girl form to get special treatment like getting additional scoops of ice cream.
Yep, when it comes to eating out, being a girl's the only way to go.
But at no point does he ever think he is actually a girl. His belief that a man cannot become a girl is so ingrained that even when a curse literally turns him into a biological female, he is and always and forever will be a male.
This is a duel, you coward! Don't you start talking like a girl!
Who you calling a girl? I'm a guy!
I'm a guy, okay? There's no way I'm gonna let you dress me up like a girl, so forget it!
But all your clothes are in the wash. It's only for a little while, Runma.
No way! Leave me alone! Stop running! Hold it a minute! Cut it out! Give it up, Satome! Wait! I told you I'm a guy!
Runma believes, and the context of the show promotes traditional ideas of gender identity and expression, and uses Runma's curse to reinforce this, not subvert it, as some modern woke activists might proclaim. For instance, Runma believes a man should never hit a woman.
Well, a lot of times when a guy fights with a girl, he lets her win.
Don't underestimate me. Why not try me for real sometime?
Violent or not, you're still a girl. I don't fight girls.
A man should never wear girls' clothing.
I'm a guy, okay? There's no way I'm gonna let you dress me up like a girl, so forget it!
If I change back into a boy in this getup, the reputation of the Sao Tome School of Anything Goes martial arts is practically done for.
A man should not be carried by a woman.
Well, come on.
Come on what?
Piggyback. You can't walk, right?
Hey, no way! You can't expect a guy to do something embarrassing like that.
That it's creepy when men are attracted to him.
I love you.
That Kuno's sick.
And many other traditional masculine beliefs that subversive feminist or woke beliefs would see them as chauvinistic or misogynistic.
Oh, right! You know, I've always wanted to eat one of these.
Don't tell me you've never had ice cream.
Guys would never eat this kind.
It'd be embarrassing.
Runma is a traditionally masculine man who sees himself as a man that is cursed, not one that is happy to flip his gender identity on a dime. When in girl form, he absolutely still identifies as a man. This is the cause of some hilarious hijinks in the show, because the show is aware that men and women are different and stereotypical male behavior is not usually equivalent or appropriate for females. One extreme example of this in the show is how Runma treats his modesty. He is completely used to training topless as a man and does not even register at times that he has turned into a girl and has an exposed chest.
Come on and fight, Ryoga!
Who the heck are you?
Shut up and fight me!
Runma? Is it you?
Just who did you think it was, you stupid jerk? Runma! Your blouse! Oh! Didn't you even notice? That you became a girl, I mean?
As a man, he is accustomed to the modesty standards of men and has trouble translating that in his girl form.
Good morning, Mr. Tendo.
You are unbelievable! Have you no sense of feminine modesty?
You don't know nothing. What does a tomboy like you know about feminine modesty?
You really are shameless.
Indeed, Runma seems to resent conforming to feminine modesty even in his girl form because that would mean acting like a girl, which he loathes to do. because even in his girl form, Runma sees himself as a man and acts like a man. There are very few times Runma knowingly acts like a girl in his girl form, and when he does this, it's usually to trick someone or, as I mentioned, exploit that form for his own benefit, but never to subvert his rock-solid identity as a man or betray his traditional masculine beliefs. But he is willing to use his girl form to get around those traditional masculine standards, not to contradict or subvert them.
Boy, do you look stupid.
Hang on, Akane, I'll be right back. Here we go.
Figure skating is just too embarrassing as a guy.
For instance, when needing to fight a girl, he will adopt his girl form. This is not to subvert gender roles or traditional masculine standards. Runma, in his girl form, is not a biological male pretending to be a female. He literally becomes a biological female and is physically weaker as a result.
If you turn him into a girl first, he'll be less powerful.
And therefore he sees it as fair to fight other girls in that form, reinforcing the traditional standard that biological men are physically stronger than women and should not compete with them. When it comes to deeper matters of gender identity, the original show both reinforces gender being a biological reality and an unchangeable characteristic of one's consciousness or soul, both of which are objective and immutable based on how the show portrays them. Gender is a biological reality in the show because Runma's biological sex literally changes when he transforms, which affects his strength and hormones. He can be more emotional in his girl form, crying far more often. Contrary from portraying biological sex as fluid and changeable in that a person with XY chromosomes can become one with XX chromosomes based on their belief, hormones, therapy, or surgeries, it literally takes a magical curse for that to change to actually be possible, and when it does, Runma cannot simply be a biological man when in his girl form because his biology has changed due to the curse and he can't switch it back any other way outside of the way the curse functions. And when in his male or female forms, he cannot believe his biology is different to what it is in that form, having it literally affect his strength and emotions even against his will.
If you turn him into a girl first, he'll be less powerful.
Incredibly, and a fact that truly contradicts modern woke gender ideology, the show, even in the extreme that Runma's biology literally changes, still presents the gender of his consciousness as unchanged and male, as that characteristic in the show, as in reality, cannot change. Gender is that much of a concrete biological reality and an unchangeable characteristic of an individual's inner identity within the context of the show, as in real life. Some might claim Runma maintaining his identity as a male when in his girl form is a validation of transgender identity, while missing the fact that it took a magical perversion of reality to actually make that possible, meaning to put a male consciousness into the wrong gendered body, and that this never happens normally or in natural ways. And the way the show determines Runma's true gender identity is by the biological gender he was born with, not the gender a person might think they are due to a mental illness. What the show is actually doing and portraying constantly throughout the entire series is reinforcing Runma's unchangeable male identity, and that one's true gender identity, the one they were born with, can never change no matter what happens to them in life, even in spite of a magical curse. Runma's dislike of his curse is compounded by the fact that his girl form is very cute and attractive, and that other men unwittingly fall in love with his girl form, not knowing he is actually a man. And this creeps Runma out. He is not gay in any way, shape, or form, and literally has nightmares of the guys trying to hit on him. The original show does not promote LGBT ideology, but actually plays off such themes as not being normal and with comedic revulsion. Runma also has no kink or perversion regarding his ability to change into a girl, because contrary to accusations in the show by other characters, Runma is not a pervert and does not get off on his girl form. He's become used to it, and his own nudity doesn't bother him or turn him on, and this is important because the show is not about kink or sex, no matter how much perverts would want to warp it into that. It's about characters, relationships, wacky martial arts, and hilarious hijinks and comedic encounters. All the things discussed in this video, how the original Runma half show handles gender, Runma's masculinity, and how he approaches his curse, are essential for making this concept work as well as it does. The danger with the current reboot is that all these things are primary targets to subvert and twist for a modern audience. The woke mob loves bastardizing things to have those stories affirm their identities, even if those stories had nothing to do with them in the first place. Not everything has to have LGBT representation, and their insistence that it does shows how authoritarian and dogmatic they are. And heaven forbid that they leave something alone that affirms traditional values and straight sexual identity, which the original Runma half does, which is what makes it such an easy and primary target for them because of the underlining premise. All the reboot needs to do is have him more freely identify as a girl in his girl form to appease the woke mob, chomping at the bit to cancel anyone who does not appease them with their representation and diversity, even when that would utterly ruin a core aspect of Runma half's premise and evolving story. But the woke mob would rather bastardize and utterly ruin a show to remake it in their image than be true to what that story is, as we've seen with countless examples. And here is the ultimate point. If you want fundamental aspects of Runma half to change to reflect your ideology, you do not love this show and you think it is problematic and bad, which means you are unworthy to touch anything related to it and you do not deserve to be a fan of it. Get lost. As to the current reboot, we will have to see if it remains true to what the heart of Runma half is, and if it chickens out by cutting statements and scenes that contradict and even slaps the face of modern woke gender theory agenda. I would be even more disappointed if it doesn't devote as much time and careful attention to the progress and depiction of Runma and Akane's relationship, and unfortunately there are already signs that the reboot is missing the mark, specifically when Runma attempts to try to thank Akane for looking out for him at school in keeping his curse a secret. The original has a careful build-up to this moment. First, his father scolds him for not thanking Akane. Runma rejects his father's advice, but upon later reflection he sees that Akane really did look out for him. The original takes time to show Runma thinking back to Akane helping him, and the music and flashbacks that are chosen convey that he is looking back with gratitude and admiration, that he is realizing Akane is someone special, prompting him to want to try and build their relationship, going to thank her for her help, which is all undermined as he comes to her door and overhears her say some of the most scolding comments about him, literally saying she's engaged with her worst nightmare.
My life may as well be over if I have to marry a stupid jerk like him. Why don't you marry him if he's so cool? Think about it. I'm engaged to my worst nightmare.
This type of emotional rejection would obviously cut deep, especially when Runma was coming to try and mend the bridges, and it sets their relationship back once more. It's a brilliant sequence, and it knows it needs to take its time because what's happening is very important. This is the foundation of the show, and it is played out carefully and skillfully with strong emotional weight, and portrays a dynamic and complex relationship that's going to be the fundamental aspect of the entire series. The reboot's version of this sequence is a shadow by comparison. No time is given to show Runma thinking this over, nor revealing in that reflection that he's already started to become attracted to Akane. Runma's dad simply says Akane looked out for him, and it cuts the overly dramatic speech from Genma in the original, which loses great characterization and humor. There is no reflection by Runma. He simply walks up to Akane's door and overhears her saying that he's a pervert who can't check the bathroom before walking in, a comment that is not nearly as scathing or emotionally impactful. The original has Runma pausing at the door in disappointment, but in the reboot he looks to simply just brush it off and walk away. This is the care, attention and time the reboot is devoting to the most important aspect of this entire show. It's actually shocking how much this misses the mark. And it is not a good sign for the future of this reboot. So they're clearly willing to change some things, sometimes small things, but they actually can mean quite a lot. But if any of these changes come at the cost of the core of what Runma half is and the development of Runma's and Akane's relationship, then this remake is worthless, especially if they censor certain things for fear of offending the modern audience. Yet in other parts of the reboot they end up being quite faithful, and even then if they manage to get everything else correct where it ends up basically being a scene-for-scene remake of the original, I don't really see a point of it apart from it being depicted in a crisper higher definition. But if that's the intent, then they should have just remastered the original, which does have great animation, and the style of the original animation was more true to the manga style and honestly just looks better. And on top of the style, the overall animation quality in the original is pretty darn good, and all of the original is available to watch right now through multiple means. On top of this, the music and sound effects are orders of magnitude better in the original, and they really help deliver many comedic payoffs and punchlines way better.
Is he cute? Younger men are so young.
Well, what kind of guy is he?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I've never met him.
Oh, please, I don't believe this.
Oh, come on, tell us what Runma is like.
Don't know.
You don't?
Nope.
Nothing at all?
I've never even met the young'un.
Sao Tome, my friend! We've been waiting!
I hope that he's older than me.
That's Runma! I just hope he's older than us.
Hmm?
Happy to see you!
There is one thing I will credit the remake, although some might consider this a point against it, which is that the remake censors more of the nudity than the original, which I do prefer. Still, all those things are ancillary to the main concerns I have with this remake, and I'll have to wait and see as more of the remake is released to find out if they remain true to the core of what Runma Half is, if anything in it is subverted for a modern, woke audience, and if it is even worthwhile in the end. As an old school fan of the original Runma Half animation, I'll be keeping an eye on it and I'll let you know. So do subscribe to Night's Watch so you don't miss out, and also be sure to check out our weekly Night's Watch live streams, The Culture Crusade. I'll be commenting and giving updates on this and various other things that are happening in pop culture and in modern culture generally, so as always, stay on watch.